Got it. Perfect.
All right, everybody, it is Friday night. Happy Friday, a Good Friday as well for many as an adjective, but of course the holiday too. Good Friday for a lot of folks that are celebrating Easter services here this weekend. Either way, we welcome you to our show tonight, Felicia, Amy, and we got a good one for you tonight, guys.
Yeah, yes, we do.
I'm
happy to be here.
We do have a lot to get to, some serious stuff right off the top.
Yeah.
Capitol police officer is dead. Another seriously injured after a suspect rammed into a police barricade outside the Capitol this afternoon. Officer William Evans was an 18-year member of the force. The suspect was shot and killed by police after he got out of the car and chased them with a knife. Officials say the attack does not appear to be terrorism related. However, the scene is still under investigation. That investigation is likely going to take quite some time as we're learning more about the suspect in this case and, of course, the victim.
Yeah, some of the latest information that we just got in not too long ago is that the suspect claims to be a follower of the Nation of Islam and follower of the leaders Louis Farrakhan and Elijah Muhammad, and that he posted videos and articles of those two leaders and was a member of the chapter, the Norfolk, Virginia chapter of the Nation of Islam. So, of course, they are peeling back the layers to try to find out what the motive could possibly be. And try to find a way to neutralize it. I mean, I think that it would be naive to think that the attack on the Capitol is not in some way connected to what happened on January 6th, just in the sense that the Capitol is now a target for people who are angry at America and its leaders and the things that are happening in this country. So I think right now, I imagine that these officials and security officials, DC Capitol Police, they are certainly just trying to find out how can they neutralize this and better protect the Capitol.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, of course, what the true motives were there as the reporting continues on it. But just, I heard the alert, and it's like it gives you a moment of, oh my goodness, not again, or what could it possibly be? Of course, it's terrible, the loss of a life, and Capitol police officers died before January 6th, too, in attacks on the Capitol. It's interesting that this all comes a couple weeks after a lot of lawmakers are saying, why do we still need the National Guard here? Why do we need all these barricades? And obviously, the Capitol Police were able to neutralize this threat. Unfortunately, one officer dying. It still just raises those concerns, though, about just how safe our lawmakers are and the workers that they work with at the Capitol, too.
Yeah, just given what happened today, I think it should be quite some time before any of those barricades down. People are angry. People are concerned. People are confused. I think these are all legitimate concerns, but they need to keep the people that work in that building and the people that keep it safe. So those barricades are up for a reason. Again, like you said, John, it's unfortunate we lost another officer again today. We learned that the suspect, actually a man from Indiana, not sure exactly where, find out more what was going on with him and his family, and hopefully find out if or anyone else is involved too, because you never know who could be tied to it.
Yeah, and I should also note that they did take away the exterior fencing, some of the stuff we saw immediately after that. They have taken that away, but the immediate perimeter is still there, as you were mentioning, Amy. Go ahead, Felicia, sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that I feel for this police officer, his family. This is a man that woke up, went to work today, and didn't realize that he wouldn't be coming home. So something to keep in mind, the DC the Capitol Police altogether, of course, they're still trying to make sense of what happened January 6th, let alone now facing this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, another big story today. It's the fifth day of testimony in the murder trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Jurors heard from two other police officers today. Listen to this exchange.
In all the years you've been working for the Minneapolis Police Department, been trained to kneel on the neck of someone who is handcuffed behind their back in a prone position?
No, I haven't.
What level of force might that be?
That would be the top tier. The deadly force, pulling him down to the ground, face down, and putting your knee on the neck for that amount of time is just uncalled for.
Minneapolis Police Department policy allows a police officer to use whatever means are available to him to protect himself and others, right?
Yes.
Did you see any need for Officer Chauvin to improvise by putting his knee on Mr. Floyd for 9 minutes and 29 seconds?
No, I did not.
Okay. That right there, that was Lieutenant Richard Zimmerman. He is the longest serving officer in the Minneapolis Police Department. And he went on to say that once a person is cuffed, you should next work to calm them down and de-escalate the situation before moving forward in the arrest. As we know, that did not happen in the case of George Floyd. Another thing that Officer Zimmerman said, he said, once in handcuffs, they're trained to lay the suspects on their side or sit them up because the position of having them face down, of course, restricts their breathing. So a lot of things did not happen according to them. There was police protocol.
And this speaks exactly to what the defense is going to try and do, and even try to do there in that clip. You can see that say this is part of training. This is what they're supposed to do. And here's the longest serving officer in Minneapolis right now saying, no, it is not training. And the defense tried to poke away at that by saying things like, well, sometimes police business isn't the prettiest thing there is. And the witness, while acknowledging that, yes, of course, that's not always the case. Of course, it can appear to be violent, and it is policing, and sometimes that's necessary. What Derek Chauvin did in this case was not. And I think hearing from a fellow police officer is going to have a huge impact on that jury. It certainly did for me.
Yeah, it was interesting, too. The defense today, as they kept referencing George Floyd and Chauvin putting his knee on him, they would say his back or his shoulder, and they repeatedly did not say that he put his knee on his neck. I think trying to keep that phrasing away from the jury. And John, I completely agree with you. This testimony to me so far, while it's not the most emotional, we've certainly heard much more gripping testimony. To me, this made the biggest impact, because you're talking about a guy who's been on the force the longest there, and he's saying, no way should he have done that. And you're like, see, they think it has to be real, right?
Yeah, credible sources that have experience,
sure.
people we should be listening to. Another thing he said that really stood out to me, that once you're in custody, you are now under the protection, and your well-being is the responsibility of the police department. That shows that there should be a sense of humanity in the policing that we see, not only in America, but specifically in this instance, there was a lack of that.
Yeah, for sure. After we wrap up this entire week of this testimony, and you guys have alluded to the emotional state of it all, I find myself oscillating between two camps of like really interested in it and enthralled, and just having to step away and wondering if we really, as Americans, each of us should get so invested in it, because it's not going to be up to us. It's going to be up to 12 people, and it's going to change the course of history. I mean, it almost scares you in that sense. I don't know which camp. I kind of change my mind each day on how invested personally to get into this, because I think, and we've talked about it, it scares me where we're going to go from here next.
I would like to believe, John, that only good can come out of this trial, because it's being scrutinized so heavily by not only authorities in Minneapolis, but of course across the world, that it will make people see what's going on in this world and hopefully bring about change. Could that possibly be wrong? Of course. But again, the testimony thus far has been so emotional and hard to watch. So then I wonder, too, at the same time, are people then turning away a little bit because after everything we've been through this year, is it so much to digest that now maybe it's too much? But at the end of the day, I think everyone will find out what happens, and that in itself will lead to change. Should mention today was the shortest day we've had thus far as well, because the judge said they're ahead of the case, so they did adjourn early today. The case, of course, resuming again next week.
Yeah, I think people are watching, John. I think to varying degrees, though. As I mentioned, or all throughout this week, it's self-preservation. I had to read a lot of what's going on with this trial, just because it is so difficult to be tuned in and locked in for so long, just because it really starts to wear on you. And I have to work, and I have to get on with my day, as I imagine a lot of other people are too. But I definitely think it matters regardless the outcome. We'll see.
Yeah, this whole thing has changed based on, I think, the very smart decision of allowing cameras into this courtroom. I am just so grateful of that. Just that no matter the way this goes. I mean, on the flip side, though, you could have America saying guilty in their own hearts, and you see something else happen, and that could flip the whole script around. But at the end of the day, and exactly. And it almost, I don't feel like we've had a case rise to this level. We've had plenty of these cases, unfortunately, rise to this level probably since Rodney King. that a whole nation has been captivated as much as this. And we all know
because
what
even though
happened after that.
even though Trayvon Martin was big, I would say George Floyd stopped the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
If you think about it on the flip side, and not that the cases are any way comparable, but Rod Blagojevich, when he was sentenced, it was such an extreme sentence. So many people were like, okay, I disagree that I agree this guy is guilty, but 14 years? Everyone was kind of left scratching their head there, which is kind of the opposite of what has happened in a lot of these racial injustice cases.
Yeah, for sure. Something we'll keep on track of. All right, guys, a new true crime documentary is getting up and close and personal with one of America's most infamous serial killers, John Wayne Gacy. We're talking to the man behind the series after the break.
Excuse me.
In light of all that has been used against me in the media, they've created this fantasy monster image, and it's been going on for the last 12 years. And I've ever had no comment, and I had no need to talk to the media for the simple reason that they were looking for sensationalism and they were looking for the monster.
So much has been documented about notorious Chicago area serial killer John Wayne Gacy, and now a new docuseries from producer Rod Blackhurst. We chatted about some of the new twists in this old case. Rod, I guess I want to say, a lot of people know the story of John Wayne Gacy, especially here. What's new? What's the hook for people to watch this?
The bulk of the series is built on the back of about 10 years of research and an investigation that two Chicagoland journalists and storytellers and producers dug up. And they basically uncovered that the story that had been presented kind of writ large, or the narrative that had been presented by the people who were in charge and the people who could write the narratives back in the 70s, wasn't entirely accurate, and that there was a far more nuanced and complex version of the story that needed to get out there.
You say deep and nuanced. I mean, John Wayne Gacy is an interesting figure. I mean, he was someone that was out and about in the community. This wasn't someone that nobody knew. In fact, quite the opposite.
What the work of Tracy Allman and Allison True, who is the former editor of the Chicago Reader, found out was that John Gacy had a habit of getting away with things for a while and had worked to ingratiate himself into the Chicago political and power machine that existed which may or may not have been one of the things that allowed him to go, uncaught for so long. And maybe that's also the way the story got reported the way that it did.
It's one of the fascinating things is how he ends up getting caught. The last murder that he commits, I mean, essentially the abduction in broad daylight. It was sloppy the way he died. I mean, it was so easily traceable to him. And I feel like that is sort of the whole investigation. There was a lot under people's noses that they just never put together.
I think the thing that really fascinated me about the story was that you had a whole class of victims that had their victimhood taken away from them. They were kind of reduced to second-class citizens merely because the police or the media at the time labeled them young gay men and or drug users, but all of them certainly weren't. Robert P. certainly wasn't. Others certainly weren't. But just because someone is gay and or does drugs doesn't mean they want to get murdered.
I think one of the gripping parts about this, and I guess that's who he was, is the interview with John Wayne Gacy himself and the clips that you use so well. And I feel like we're all looking for clues in every little twitch of his finger and movement of his face. Did that fascinate you too, just watching hours and hours of footage of it?
I have zero interest in John Wayne Gacy, if I'm going to be completely honest. Yeah. My hope is that interview, which has never been seen before, is the bait that lures people in to want to watch the show and learn everything else that the show has wrapped up inside of 6 episodes. And so that's a fascinating piece of history. And again, a way to bring a whole new audience to something that happened so long ago. I mean, it happened before I was born. Yeah. And I think most of the people watching this need to get brought up to speed, both about the culture that existed at the time and the way that these people came to operate and why they were allowed to operate as such in society.
I appreciate the framing of the issue. It's about the victims, the families, the effects they have, and even seeing Robert Peace's family interview from the time. I think it brings it home that, yeah, we have this fascination with true crime, but it's really important to remember the lives lost and the impact that had on generations of families.
I remember when documentaries were not just true crime, and right. It's been incredible to see, and not necessarily in a positive way, the way that so many documentary series and standalone films occupy that genre space. My hope, though, is, and this is what I really tried to do with the first documentary I made, the Netflix documentary about Amanda Knox, was to use true crime as the way to tell us something about us, the way we operate, the way society works, and to make sure that the record is factually and accurately recorded.
Yeah, really nice work with this, Rod. I can't wait to watch more of it. Let's get the information up on the screen where you can watch John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise, the docuseries, of course, on Peacock. Thanks for your time today.
All right, let's get into some Hollywood headlines.
This is the father of the most famous athlete on the planet, Michael Jordan. And on his 57th birthday, he was an unidentified dead man in the swamp in the middle of nowhere.
That's a preview of the new docuseries from IMDb about the murder of Michael Jordan's father, James. Moment of Truth dives into the criminal justice system in North Carolina's Robeson County, systemic racism, and law enforcement. The 5-part series starts streaming today. There's actually a screening of this last night. I had to miss it, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. So this should be a pretty good docuseries.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this because at least the facts that we know so far, and maybe you guys can correct me, when he was killed, he was asleep in his car in the rural area. It's not like they knew who he was. It's not like he was Michael Jordan's dad at that point. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm. That's the official word for now, yeah.
Yeah, so strange.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
Very, very. Okay. Should be a great doc. And ladies around the nation, they got some bad news. Their fave, Reggie Jean Page, says he will not be returning to Bridgerton for season 2. The show confirmed his exit from the show on Twitter and Instagram through Lady Whistledown. Playing the Duke of Hastings was his breakout role. Of course, they're modeling the show after the novel, so it makes sense that he's probably not going to be in the second season, since I think they're doing one for each book, and his character is not in the second book, from what I'm told.
Just look at him. I'm literally sitting here smiling as we watch these clips, because it's reminding me of just the joy that he gave us on screen.
Brandon, did you watch that show or no?
No, I thought it was terrible. I watched 3 episodes and
Oh my goodness.
I can kind of tell the way you read it. You were like, Lady Whistledown, Duke of Hastings. I was like, Brandon's not into this. If this was an Avengers storyline, he'd be off the edge of his seat. So
What I was going to say, I haven't seen it either. I didn't see it either. But he's
Bridgerton
a very
is
handsome
so good. And we should be watching it just to support Shonda Rhimes. Hello, people. Let's get with it. The entire country was watching Bridgerton. So I'm looking forward to
watched
season 2.
Raised since day one, so I'm all about Shonda Rhimes.
Don't get me started on Shonda. I could go on a whole diatribe about her. But let's move on here. This Easter Sunday, another big versus battle going down. This one is for the grown and sexy. The Isley brothers face Earth, Wind, and Fire in a song-for-song duel. And to make it all the sweeter, Steve Harvey is hosting. Starts at 7 p.m. on Sunday. Cannot wait to see what he's going to wear. Felicia, what are you going to wear?
Yes. Oh, I don't know. I haven't even gotten that far. I didn't even think about that. Oh my goodness. But this is a moment because Earth, Wind, and Fire, Isley Brothers, this is just timeless music that transcends generation, races, backgrounds. Like, this is just good music. And so many of their songs have been sampled by so many modern artists today. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, Isleys too. I think the Isleys win. Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
Really?
It's bath time. I'm going to miss it. Tell me how it goes.
Now, will they play R. Kelly music is the question. R. Kelly's got some songs with the Isleys, so let's see if
that's a good question. Very good question.
What's up, KG?
What's up, KG?
From this, I'm gathering things you should tune into are verses and things that you should in our Bridgerton season 2 because we need Simon back. But anywho, still ahead, LinkedIn figured out a way to get its employees over Zoom fatigue. I know. We'll discuss. And Easter weekend, it is looking nice and sunny. Here's the rest of the 7-day, and we will be right back after this.
Y'all, I wasn't here yesterday to tell you how much I hate April Fools. Michael Strahan did a pretty good prank. I will give him that. But there were some bad ones, too. Let's talk about Volkswagen really quickly. They said Monday that their name in the U.S. was going to be Volkswagen with a T, talking about electric cars. Turns out they were lying, even though reporters asked them for 2 days and they said they were serious. That's no good. But here's the biggest fail of all, and it comes from just an average American who always fails at April Fools. A 58-year-old woman in Kansas told her daughter that she had been shot. So her daughter called 911. The police came to the scene. They cordoned the whole thing off, brought medical attention. Of course she wasn't shot. It was an April Fool's joke, the worst one you could ever make. And now she is arrested. Thank goodness.
Hey, a kid just drowned. Funny.
Right.
What's wrong with people?
That's equally terrible. I mean, like, what are you doing, people? What happened to the old days of the whoopee cushions?
Yeah, what happened to putting the ketchup packets under the toilet seat so when people sit down they get squirt ketchup? That's the April Fool's joke.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Or you cover the toilet seat with saran wrap so that if they pee it runs off the toilet into their clothes.
That's a classic.
I said yesterday I'm not a fan of April Fools. I could do without it, but to all the pranksters out there, this is a lesson. Don't take things too far.
Way too far.
Lesson in life in general.
I think it's a good rule of thumb. Don't joke about death, right? It's just a bad idea.
That part too.
The more you know, Brandon Pope. There you go. All right, we'll be back.
That was well timed.
The PSA?
Very good.
Yeah.
So let's do it, Krista.
Okay, thanks. Listen to this, guys. I'm officially jealous of anyone who works at LinkedIn. The company is giving almost everybody an entire week off, a bonus paid vacation week next week to prevent burnout because they want their workers to use this time to unplug and recharge.
Love it.
So jealous.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll take one.
Are our bosses taking notes? I mean, like, come on. I know, Brian, you want one too. Director, give us a ding for a week off next week. Come on, Brian. There it is.
The ding makes it official.
Let's hear from the producer. Dinger and X. Dinger and X from the boss. Ah, the boss said no.
Come on. How about 2 days? Can we make it 2? Utah, make it 2. No?
At least one. At least one.
Amy's making it a negotiation. One.
Okay, I'll take anything.
Ding for one. Ding for
one.
one.
Ding for one. There we go.
We got it
Maybe
on
Wednesday.
camera.
Yeah. We did. We have proof.
Wednesday.
Documentation.
We'll be back. 6:30. The weather's going to be gorgeous this weekend. Let's kick this half hour off right. Thanks for joining us for the Jam. I'm Amy Rutledge, alongside Mr. John Hanson and Miss Felicia Lawrence.
And we are excited for a warm weekend, to be sure.
Yes.
But let's jump into this story. Video in connection to a police-involved shooting that killed a 13-year-old boy will soon be released. There's a lot of new information that's been coming out today, so kind of let's catch you up on this timeline of the story. Adam Toledo, the 13-year-old, was reported missing from his Little Village home last Friday. Now, on Saturday, CPD reported that he had returned home, but it turns out he slipped out again over the weekend. Okay, so early Monday morning, Adam was shot and killed by a CPD officer near 24th and Sawyer. Later on Monday, a CPD spokesman tweeted out this photo of a gun that was recovered near the scene. Now, police haven't answered whether the weapon was owned, was held, pointed, or fired by Adam. No extra information there. Back to the timeline, on Wednesday, Adam's family was asked to identify a photo of his body, but it wasn't until yesterday, Thursday, April 1st, that we learned Adam was only 13 years old. And today, COPA confirmed that it will release footage connected to the shooting within 60 days. It could happen a lot sooner than then, but it will be within the next 60 days. The officer involved has been placed on administrative leave for 30 days. That's pretty standard. Let's get Brandon Pope into this conversation. I think that we're seeing a lot of moving pieces in this story as we move throughout the week here. The big news right now, though, is that this video is going to be released. I imagine it's pressure from the mayor's office to fix some mistakes that have been made in the past, Brandon.
Yeah, even though the mayor's office had really a lot more power than I think the mayor let on here to release this video. But I think people are ready to see this. It's interesting because when we talk about the mayor, she's celebrating, was it 2 years now in office? This is the third person shot by police this week. And she ran on reform of Chicago Police Department. We don't yet know all the details of this case, detail by detail yet, but it's troubling anytime a young person is shot, and especially when it's by police, and you do question, was there not a less lethal use of force that could have been used? So it's troubling, and I'm eager, even though I don't want to see the video, I am eager to see how this played out. I know it is going to be disturbing to watch, though.
Yeah, and in terms of the boy and his parents being notified about his death, it seems that there was some confusion because he was reported missing by his family, I believe, on Saturday or Friday, and then came home Saturday, and his parents called and rescinded the missing persons report. And then he took off again, and the report was not filed again. So I think that, at least coming from an ME's perspective, because I have covered stories like this in the past, when unidentified boy showed up and there was no missing persons for a boy, that connection was not immediately made. So that might be where the delay is in letting the family know, because at that point, police were no longer looking for a missing boy. If this timeline is correct as we know it right now, of course, again, like Brandon mentioned, there's some details that are still missing.
Yeah. So the last thing that I read was that the family had not seen the police body cam video just yet. And it's like, just look at how little we know as a community, but how little the family knows. And so I would assume that CPD's response to that is, well, we're investigating, and, that takes time. But it's just still, it just still feels icky. It feels unfortunate. I will say it feels icky just because, like, imagine that mom. She's like, the people that hurt my baby are the same people that are controlling the information, which is why the need for transparency is so important. So again, I'm only thinking of the family in cases like this. That poor mother was crying on television earlier today for the press conference that they had, and clearly visibly angry as she should be. I can't imagine.
I just, and I know we got to go. I don't get why you tweet a photo of a gun if you don't know anything or you're not going to release any more information. Like, why even start down that road if you haven't even identified this person or told us how old they are? Like, why even go down that road? Wait until you have more information and give it to us.
Unless you're trying to get in front of a PR nightmare, right?
Yeah, well, then they found themselves in another one, so.
Right. All right, guys, time for a little Chicago in 60. Mobile vaccination clinic is now buzzing around Chicago. The CTA bus is targeting seniors in areas with low vaccination rates. A new plaza is being developed in the Lawndale neighborhood, completely retrofitted with shipping containers. A mini museum, a flower shop, and a cafe will host a series of events through this summer. And Alligator Rob is giving big thanks to Chicago for helping save his life. The Florida alligator trapper had life-saving heart surgery last month, made possible by $50,000 in donations, which largely came from Chicago residents. And we wish him the quickest recovery possible.
He's such a nice guy. He's like a sweet guy. I know we all met him at the Emmys a couple years ago. He's become like a Chicago hero. Yeah, exactly. And just such a great person. And I'm glad that Chicagoans rallied for him.
Me too.
Yeah. Love to see it.
But I'm here to tell you that this is your year. Next year's going to be better. You're about to have the greatest 3 years of your life. Somebody clap your life, you believe.
Oh, yes, the greatest years of your life are on the way, you guys. For over 25 years, Tim Storey has been helping people navigate through life's interruptions, we'll call it. His new book, The Miracle Mentality, explains what it means to lean into who God has created you to be. Tim Storey joining us now. Tim, thank you so much for being here. Let's talk about the miracle mentality and the message that you're trying to get across in the book.
First of all, I was enjoying watching you guys. You guys are good.
Thank you.
Hey,
we'll take that
now you can stay longer.
Exactly. Let's make this a 22-minute segment.
There you go.
So, the reality is, if I could just say this, that, we obviously got hit by a major life interruption with COVID-19. I don't think any of us thought it was going to last so long. So this book had started maybe 3 years ago, but it came out at a perfect time because I think so many of us went from living our lives and having momentum and then finding a lot of mess coming into our lives, a lot of madness, and losing some of the magical living and thinking. And so I teach us how to tap back into the magic. That's what I do.
I know that you talk about like people having dreams and that, especially in the pandemic, sometimes dreams are delayed and not necessarily denied. And I love this sentiment because especially right now when we're all on pause, what do we do with that? Because how do we know it's just delayed and not denied when we've been stuck in one place for so long?
So this idea of the life interruption is like a knock on the door that we did not ask for. That's what happened through COVID. So I think sometimes when we go through a setback, it's so easy to sit in the setback and settle in the setback. But really a setback, if we use it correctly, can really help our lives. And we could turn the setback into a library of learning and a sanctuary of getting deeper. And that's what a lot of my clients, as you guys know, I work with entertainers that I've been life coaching, some of them for over 30 years. I help them to go deeper and then also to find their stronger self in the midst of trying times. So we don't have to sit, settle, or cement ourselves in a setback. We can come out stronger out of this, guys, with a miracle mentality.
I think a lot of us in the country, and we were just seeing photos of you with Oprah, look to Oprah as our self-help guru. And to hear that you are her self-help guru, that's a lot of pressure, Tim, to hold this country together.
Well, I do my best. So, the thing
He's
about—
got God on his side, John.
Yeah, that's true.
You guys are good. So, Oprah is my friend, like my real friend. So she's been great to me, from putting me in documentaries to traveling with her. I'm in her new book. She interviews me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I would say that we're more friends that have amazing conversations that help both of us. But, I started in Beverly Hills, probably about 1992, coaching some of the biggest stars in the world. And then it continued to this day. But I think, number one, everybody's going through something, whether it be celebrities or somebody who, is working a regular job. We're all been hit by challenging times. But we could have a miracle mentality. A miracle is something extraordinary, uncommon, not regular. You guys seem like you're thinking big still. Come on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not every day, though.
Right. It's not always easy to do. to get out of your own way.
But what is it? Is it the hope, or is it the fact that you're expecting the miracle to come? Like, what is that secret? Which
I'll give it to you real quick. So number one,
give us a little
number one,
something.
you got to become awake. You got to become awake. And then number two, you got to take inventory, look at your life, where you're really at, your clarity of mind, just where your life is, how you're doing. So you become awake, then you take inventory. Thirdly, you got to partner with the right people. And that is so, so, so important. Like, are you partnering with people that have a miracle mentality? If not, you need to. And then you have to get the right principles, stay on your principles, okay? And your principles will create the right plan. And then you become very persistent. And then, boom, you step into this miracle mentality.
All
I
right.
love it. I got to get some new friends because I keep letting these people influence me on this show.
Don't worry, I'll life coach you all for free. I'm going to life coach you all for free starting now.
Oh, love it.
Free. That's something we can afford. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Tim. We appreciate you. The book, The Miracle Mentality, is available now. Go to timstorey.com for more information and check him out on social media as well. Tim Storey Official.
Brandon's got his interview tonight with Milo V.
I think it's
Milo Ventimiglia.
No, it's Milo.
That's what I meant. Milo.
We can just call him the hot guy from Gilmore Girls and leave it.
Yeah.
There you go. Lots of attempts. Well, coming up, I talk with This Is Us star. Here it is, Milo Ventimiglia, and find out the worst pronunciation of his name he's ever heard.
All right, some news you need to know. This year's MLB All-Star Game is without a home right now. Officials announcing today they are moving it and the draft out of Atlanta to a to-be-determined location. That decision comes after Georgia passed a law restricting voting rights. The commissioner of baseball issuing a statement saying, in part, Major League Baseball fundamentally supports voting rights for all Americans and opposes restrictions to the ballot box. He went on to say fair access to voting continues to have our game's unwavering support.
Yeah, and the never elected senator out of Georgia, Kelly Loeffler, immediately called it cancel culture. I like to think of it as consequences. The business making a decision that they want to make. And the Atlanta Braves said they were upset. They're like, we were going to address this during the All-Star weekend. Oh, that's what you were going to spend the All-Star game weekend doing, addressing that, really? Okay, yeah, too bad. Great move by MLB.
Yeah,
I do
think
get
it's a
where the Braves
wonderful
are coming
move.
from.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that they are taking a stance because, the private sector doesn't always chime in on some of these issues. So I appreciate them taking a stance and being bold with it. And I mean, I'm sure that might not be the easiest thing to change where this All-Star game is going to be, but yet alone they went ahead and did it. I also think of a few years ago when I was reporting in North Carolina and the bathroom bill was all out because they were concerned about transgender people to the same bathroom, and the NBA All-Star pulled out of there because for the same, reason, for these laws that are just not progressive, let alone hurt specific members of the community. They hurt specific groups that need to be protected better. So I appreciate them taking a stance. That's progressive.
A rare progressive move for Major League Baseball, a very conservative league. Usually you'd expect the NBA to do something like this. I understand where the Braves are coming from because this does impact business in the area. This impacts business owners, but overall they're taking a stand, and that's important.
He's an Emmy-nominated actor who is most recognized for his roles in Gilmore Girls and, of course, This Is Us. Milo Ventimiglia joins me now. And Milo, I got to ask, man, what is the worst pronunciation of the last name that you ever heard?
Oh, boy. Listen, I do get Milo at times, and I understand that one. Usually I tell people they're probably international, and that's cool because I know my name is the I is a little different. Ventimiglia, I get a lot, and that's fine. There is a G in there, but it's silent. Probably the worst one I got, though, I was about 12 years old, and it was Ventima whatever. Someone just didn't want to continue figuring out the last half of my name. So luckily, there's not many Milos in the business in front of the camera. So I think a lot of times people can just say Milo and they know who you're talking about.
Congrats on the success with This Is Us. This is
Thanks,
this
man.
show has been a phenomenon, man. Like from the moment it came out, people have been raving and hyping every episode, and they're just moved by the human stories. You're in a unique position here because your character is technically dead. So what kind of challenge does that present to you, if any?
It's funny. There was always the question of job security. They're going to kill you off if you're not behaving, but my guy's dead. So I don't know if they can kill him twice. I don't believe, and I really, truly don't believe it diminishes the character in any way. I think what it shows is the kind of man that he is and the impact that he continues to have on his family because of who he was.
Like you mentioned, other shows, you kill a character off, they're gone, right?
Oh yeah, Ned Stark, end of season 1, Game of Thrones, gone. Off to your head.
But just like in real life, when you lose a loved one, they stay with you. Their presence is there, and the impact they made on you is still there. So I think it's powerful how you guys tell that story, and I love that. I also love the chemistry you and Mandy have on screen. It's a really great relationship there. What's something you've learned about Mandy throughout the years that people would find surprising?
I don't know if this is something that people just don't know about her. She's honest with her performance. She believes in it. She believes the experiences that she's going through on camera. She works so hard. And I've seen Mandy, and it's not just hard work. She comes prepared to experience whatever she needs to for Rebecca on that day. She gives so much of herself to that character, and she's so connected to her that it's wonderful just to witness.
Have you gotten a chance to meet her new baby boy?
No, I haven't, man. I haven't. We've FaceTimed a couple times. I've gotten to see him. He's beautiful. He has her upper lip. And which is just a funny detail, funny detail, because you spend 5 years next to somebody literally right next to each other, inches apart, playing TV spouses. You notice certain things. I'm like, oh, he's got your upper lip. But Mandy, in who she is as a human being, as a woman in today's world, coupled with her husband Taylor, they're the best kind of people. They're people you want to be parents. They're people you want to be raising a young soul in this world right now.
You've been on our TV screens for a while. I mean, Gilmore Girls, Heroes, This Is Us. When people are stopping you in the grocery store, what do you get approached about the most?
Honestly, like right now, it's This Is Us. I think only because the show's on TV, but usually at times people will say, you know, be like, oh my God, I loved you as Peter Petrelli. Oh my God, Jess, did he, you know, was it his baby? You know, things like that. But strangely enough, now is I get vocal recognition. I'll ask someone a question at the grocery store or, you know, at an REI camping spot. And I'm like, hey man, do you have camping fuel? And they're like, oh my God, I know your voice. You're him. I'm like, who's him? What are you talking about? But it's nice. It's nice. It means people have paid attention.
Congratulations on your success here. This Is Us, one of the best shows really in the history of TV, in my opinion. You do a great job.
Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks, man.
All right, we'll be right back.
And all I want to do is give big slobbery kisses. What's that? My hair is so easy. My hair is so
Oh man, perfect weather this weekend. And don't let that rain scare you next week. It'll be on and off. People ought to put on their mask and get out, right, Krista?
Oh, they sure do. And if y'all need anything to bring to any outdoor Easter celebrations you might be hitting up this weekend, I got you, okay? Check out my latest Now Try This video. That's me and Lindsay Myers. We got creative with some Easter baskets over Instagram Live today. She shared ideas for everyone. It's not just for kids, okay? Easter baskets can be for adults too. We got your family, your friends, you name it, anything they like, we put it in an Easter basket. So check out what we put together on our IG at The Jam TV Show. And y'all, be sure to follow us on all the platforms, okay? We got great content everywhere. We'll be right back after this. Okay.
Naperville.
Ever been to Naperville, Brandon?
I have. Wow. Many times.
It's far away. Through a car.
Drums. This is where we go deep or we dish. It's deep dish, okay? And you guys, Trump, he loved his McDonald's. But Kevin McKay, he was a bodyguard for the former prez, and he spotted a $130 meal at McDonald's, and Trump said he would pay him back. Never did. So tonight we're talking grudges. Do you hold on to them or do you let that ish go? Felicia, I feel like you may have a grudge or two you're holding on to.
So I try not to make grudges a habit, but mama didn't raise no fool. So I also want to remember, okay, you know how they say, oh, forgive and forget. No, baby, I can forgive you, but I still know what you did. And as far as this man and the $130 that President Trump owes him, he better print up an invoice and send it to him. Send it to him. Send them that invoice and get their money back. The federal government owes you $130 plus interest, sir.
Get those receipts. Get those receipts. Amy, what about you?
Yeah, no, I try not to hold grudges. I'm with Felicia on this one because, yeah, it just doesn't serve you well. But I will say what I do like to do instead, which is super duper healthy, is I like to replay scenarios over in my head and think about things I should have done differently and drive myself crazy instead, because that's way healthier.
Guilty.
I like that. I like that. So I don't think I hold grudges because I think I don't like holding bad energy about people. But I did have a streak where I did get revenge on people. That way I didn't have to hold a grudge. It was already settled. I think I've let that part go of myself, but you never know.
My grudge is against all of you. I've been playing a prank on you this entire show because I'm moving tomorrow of slowly taking away my set pieces until there was nothing behind me, and none of you noticed.
How is that pranking us, John?
A few books each thing. Because you guys were like, no one said anything. How'd you guys get the joke?
I mean, I look at the screen
I was
5
lost
times
in your
the
eyes,
entire
John.
show.
Because it's April 2nd, that's
Lost
why.
in your eyes, John. Yes, what Felicia said. Me too.